Okay, so for those who don't know, HATS protocol provides a way for DAOs to create and delegate roles, responsibilities, and authorities to individuals, as well as subgroups or pods or sub-DAOs or working groups, etc. And so we're going to kind of talk through a little bit of how that works and why the way we've set things up and the way we've designed the protocol we think is really valuable. And we're going to do that with a bit of a demo. So imagine for the sake of the next 21 minutes that you are in a DAO that whose purpose is to govern a DeFi protocol, or it doesn't have to be DeFi, but just whatever you'd like, called Helmet Protocol. So like many other DAOs, the Helmet DAO as a concept of delegates. So like think about like ENS or the Compound DAO or things like that. And basically a lot of stuff that's using either Compound Governor as their DAO framework, or also they could be Moloch v3 as an example. Anything that has delegation. So this DAO has the concept of delegates, like a lot of others do, and so delegates. Members, holders of the governance token, can delegate their votes to others. In this particular DAO, in Helmet DAO, there's this notion of qualified delegates. So qualified delegates are delegates who have received above some minimum threshold of votes delegated from other members. And if they're qualified, and I'll get to the specific values in a second, but if they're qualified, they're responsible for doing more than if they opt in, they can become responsible for doing more than just what normal delegates do in DAOs today. In DAOs today, a lot of delegates do they just vote on shit, or they pay attention, and that's their job. But in Helmet DAO, they also have this additional responsibility where they are tasked with pausing the Helmet smart contracts in case of some emergency. So if there's a critical bug that's found, or there's some kind of hack that's ongoing or something, the Helmet DAO has decided that it wants to create a way for some trusted people to pause the smart contracts. But it's not really trusted because the DAO wants to make sure that they're controlling who gets to have that responsibility, who gets to have that authority, and is able to revoke that responsibility or authority if they decide that they're not appropriate. And that's especially important because there's often, in those kind of emergencies, there's often pretty sensitive information at play. So you don't want to have the people responsible for pausing the protocol because of a bug that's been found having to talk about what that bug is in public, which could just allow some hacker to just swoop in and execute whatever attack the bug allows. So these delegates are basically given a delegates only channel in Discord so they can coordinate privately about that kind of thing without leaking critical information. So here's the question, here's the scenario. In today's world, with today's infrastructure, that delegates only channel can't really exist, or if it does, somebody has created it and manually added those delegates to that delegates only channel. So if one of those delegates falls out of favor, is undelegated from, and falls below the qualified delegate threshold, they would just stay in the delegates only channel, and that's not really good. That's a pretty big attack vector. So what we do is we solve this with HATS protocol. So what that means is that the Helmet DAO creates a qualified delegate hat, which has a few different properties. So property number one is that you have to be eligible for the hat, and that eligibility is encoded into an eligibility module in HATS protocol. So this eligibility module says that you have to have, at least for this demo, 10 demo tokens delegated to you. If you have 10 demo tokens delegated to you, then you count as a qualified delegate and you're eligible for the hat, programmatically or automatically. which means that eligible or qualified delegates can claim that hat permissionlessly. And that is further made possible by another module called a hatter contract that serves as the admin for that delegate hat. Since the hat, so the hat is represented by an 1155 NFT. It can give the wearers, the delegates that have claimed it, access to things via token gating. So that can be off-chain, like the Discord channel, or maybe like a Clarity space or something else. It can also be on-chain, like access to a multisig, the emergency pause multisig, for example. There are 1155 tokens, but they're not transferable by the wearer. So the delegates themselves cannot transfer them to others. Only the DAO, as the serving as the admin of that hat, can transfer it. And coming back to the eligibility concept, as soon as a delegate no longer has enough demo tokens delegated to them, they automatically, instantaneously lose their hat, programmatically. So we'll see this as probably, well, I don't want to tell you how to think about this, but this is probably going to be the most interesting part of the demo when we see that in action. That is like a very specific scenario that's meant to represent or like be one example of many different possibilities. So happy after this to talk about what some of those possibilities could be. But for now, we're just going to run with that scenario and play this out. So if you're playing along at home, what I'm going to do next is run through these demo steps. So you're welcome to follow along with me if you'd like. What we're going to be using are these components. So we have the HATS protocol contract itself. It's in beta. This is all on Gnosis chain. HATS protocol is just a single contract. We have the qualified delegate hat, which has an ID of this giant number. We have a demo token that is meant to represent kind of the governance token of Helmet DAO. We have the emergency pause multisig, which is a safe. And we have a hat signer gate, which is basically a token gate that we created in order to allow people with a given hat to become a signer on a given safe. And I'll show you how that works in a second. And then we have that Hatter admin contract that I described earlier and the eligibility contract that I described earlier. So we're going to use all of these in the demo today. But please don't use them for anything other than the demo. The demo token, I basically broke the approval mechanism to make this demo smoother, so we don't have to go through some dumb steps. But it's totally unsafe, so please don't use it for anything else. Okay, so if you're playing along at home, what you need to do first is just give yourself some demo tokens, and you can get that. There's a mint 100 function on the contract. So just backing up one second, we don't yet have any kind of UI for HATS protocol. We've been focusing on the protocol first. So everything we're going to do today, we're going to do in Block Scout, because we're on Gnosis chain. So you can do that by interacting with the contract here. I personally already have some of these. So I'm going to move on to the next step, which is delegating 10 of those tokens to somebody of my choice. In this case, it's just going to be my other wallet. So I'm going to go to, this is going to happen in the eligibility contract. So I'm going to delegate. So let's see, I'm going to make sure I'm connected to the right. I want to be on here, and I want to be on Gnosis chain. Okay, so I'm going to delegate to my test wallet, which is this guy here, and I'm going to delegate 10 of these tokens. Make sure, if you're doing this at home, make sure you're doing this with the correct number of decimals or zeros. So I'm delegating these tokens. And then the next thing that I'm going to do is because once that transaction confirms, as the delegate, my test wallet, which I'll switch to here, as that delegate, I can now claim this hat. And so this is that Hatter contract, which is serving as the admin for the hat, the controller of the hat. it allows me, if I'm eligible, to claim this hat permissionlessly. And so I have to just add in the hat ID here, and I'm going to claim it. This should work unless there's been an issue with the previous transaction, and no, there wasn't. So this is my test wallet. I'm claiming the hat. So then I'll just show you once I do so that once that transaction confirms, then my balance of the test wallet's balance of the qualified delegate hat token should be 1. Yeah, so that 1 means I'm a wearer of the hat. So if I do the same thing on is wearer of hat, same parameters, this will respond true. Okay, so far so good. So the next thing that I'm going to do is, because I have my qualified delegate hat, that means I should have access to the delegates only Discord channel. So this is my test. This is my test Discord account. I'm going to verify with Guild, and there it is. I now have the access to the delegate only Discord channel. You can see I've previously done this demo, so I have some other stuff that I have typed in here, but I'll just do it again. So that's Discord. That's an example of an off-chain token gate. We can also do on-chain token gating. So because I have that hat, I have the right to become a signer on the emergency pause multisig. So that's here. Here's the emergency pause multisig safe. Right now it has three signers. Just to set this up, I'm one of the signers here, but my demo wallet is not yet a signer. This is a 1 of n multisig for demo purposes. And like I said, it has 0.19 xDAI in it. So if you're playing along at home and you end up becoming a signer on this safe, you can execute transactions just unilaterally because it's a 1 of n. Obviously, in real life, that wouldn't be what was going on. So what I'm going to do is, on the hat signer gate contract, which is here, I can claim signer. So basically, claim signer, inside of it, it's checking whether I have a balance of the hat ID. Am I aware? Am I message sender, the one who's calling this function, aware of the appropriate hat that is gating the signer right on that multisig? So I'm going to claim signer here, and once I do, we should see my name or my address here get added automatically by the Safe UI once it gets indexed and all of that. So we'll just wait a second for that to come up. There it is. Sometimes that takes longer because of indexing variability, but that was not too bad. So here I am. This is my test wallet. I am now a signer on this safe. So what that means I can do is if I wanted to, I could send some tokens. So I'm just going to attempt to send some dust, as I said earlier, to myself or to my other wallet. I'm not actually going to do this. I'm just going to simulate via Tenderly, and the transaction would succeed. Because I'm a signer on the safe and because it's 1 of n, I can execute transactions here. So in the scenario, our demo scenario, I would be executing transactions here if in order to pause the Helmet DAO or Helmet Protocol smart contracts. So I can do that, but let's move ahead in the demo to a scenario where I actually lose my qualified delegate status. So let's say somebody undelegates from me sufficiently so that I drop below that 10 delegated votes threshold. So that is on the eligibility contract. I obviously have to switch back to my other address that did the delegation, and I'm going to undelegate And I'm gonna undelegate. All I need to do is undelegate one. So I still have some tokens delegated to me, but I'm dropping below that threshold. And once that happens, then we can actually see that I'll just rerun this this function, and I'll see that this bool, this true, should turn to a false. So I'm not sure how quickly that happened, but let's see if that is happening yet. Oh, it's still, oh, there it is. Okay. So now, okay, there it is. So what just happened here is pretty cool. No, there was no transaction other than somebody else taking some action. So somebody undelegated from my test wallet, which automatically revoked the hat from that test wallet. So what we'll also see is that if, I don't know exactly how often Guild updates, but I think I can force it by verifying again. And it should take away this channel from me. Yep, it did. And what you'll see is I am no longer a signer on the safe. Well, I'm an owner on the safe, but that hat signer gate, what it's going to do is when I try to sign a transaction, it's going to check that my signature is valid. And a valid signature in this case is a signature from somebody that is still wearing the appropriate hat. I'm not sure. Let's try to see if I can simulate this again. I don't know if that's going to work here. Okay, it didn't get reflected there. I think I have to do a new transaction. So let's try the same thing where I send some dust. Oh, the problem is that I know what's going on. I'm in the wrong wallet here. I need to go back to my test wallet, which is the delegate. And now we can see that transaction will most likely fail. And if I simulate, it'll say that it failed. And the reason it's failing again is that I'm not actually a valid signer anymore because I'm not wearing the appropriate hat. So my authority to sign transactions that pause the helmet DAO has been automatically revoked at the same time, exactly when I fell below the delegation threshold. Okay, so that's basically the end of the demo. If I had not lost my ability to delegate or as a delegate, I just want to talk a little bit about some other things that I could do. So Hats protocol creates or enables a tree of hats. So any hat can be the admin of a child hat. And that child hat can also then create and be an admin of a further child hat. It's quite large space. So if I were to still have my qualified delegate hat, I could create additional hats to delegate additional responsibilities below me. So why does this matter? Or what's an example of how this could work? So imagine that I'm in a wildfire pod. And instead of me being the delegate, it's my wildfire pod that's the delegate within Helmet DAO. Now, because Wildfire Pod has that qualified delegate hat, it can create additional roles inside of the Wildfire Pod to delegate responsibilities and authorities over specific tasks or specific domains pertaining to being a delegate to Helmet DAO. So individual members of the Wildfire Pod could have specific roles that are tied directly to the delegate hat that the Wildfire Pod is wearing and actually managed by that hat. And it's tied directly all the way up to the to Helmet DAO itself. Okay. I could say a lot more, but I'll stop there because I know we're running short on time, and I want to make sure there's an opportunity for people to chime in and ask questions if they have any.
Very cool. I like. Well, when is so on the protocol level? Are you guys gonna be like deploying to multiple networks, or is it already deployed? Can people start using this now?
It is already deployed. still in beta. We just deployed yesterday a new version, calling it 0.6. That is on Gnosis chain here. This is a different contract than what I was just using. It's got a couple other features, including optional mutability for hats, so they can have their properties changed over time, optionally, and some other things. It's still beta. Has not been audited. There's still some work to do to probably refine a few things, et cetera, et cetera. But we are trying as much as we can to put this tool in the hands of DAOs that want to play around with it. So it is available right now on Gurley on testnet, Polygon, and Gnosis chain. If you do want to use it, just keep in mind that it definitely is in beta, and we're going to be deploying new versions, so you can't fully rely on your version being the final one. But broadly speaking, Hats protocol is going to be wherever DAOs are and wherever DAOs need it. There's some challenges with respect to building an app that supports all of those, as many of those that are here probably know. But at the protocol level, it will be wherever it needs to be.
Awesome. And that's actually, thanks, Spencer. That was an awesome demo. I think I have some more questions, but I'll just hit you up later so we can get into the next thing. And what you just said may be a good transition, because we're going to be showcasing in a technical session our front end toolkit. So this is kind of built to work with our DAOs, but it's definitely not required to work with a DAO. These are composable UI components that could work with anything. And you could even use it to build hats quickly in a rapid way. We have Jord, one of our core developers, coming on.